Jim Miller is a name every UFC fan knows. At 41 years old, Miller has become the ultimate example of endurance and dedication in the octagon. Since his debut in 2008 at UFC 89 in Birmingham, he's been a relentless force, setting records along the way. He's not just a veteran, he's got the most wins and fights in UFC history. And now, he's facing what could be his final challenge when he takes on Damon Jackson at UFC 309 on November 17th. But Jim Miller's journey isn't just about stats. He's divided his career into 4 unique phases: his early days, the battle with Lyme disease, the comeback as he adapted to fighting in his 30s, and finally, this late career resurgence. And it's that resilience that's pushed him to evolve over 16 years in the cage. Miller marked an incredible achievement by fighting at UFC 100, 200, and 300, a feat few can claim. In his UFC 200 fight back in 2016, he was suffering from Lyme disease but managed to beat Takanori Gomi with a first-round finish. And even though he didn't win at UFC 300, he went toe-to-toe with MMA legend Bobby Green, proving that he's as gritty as ever. Surprisingly, despite his success, Miller never fought for a title, but for him, it was never about the gold. Growing up in Sparta, New Jersey, in a wrestling family, Miller was practically born to compete. He and his brother Dan even opened Miller Brothers MMA in their hometown, training together and shaping young fighters. Jim got his break with the UFC in 2008, signing a 4-fight exclusive contract alongside his brother. Dan eventually retired in 2015, but Jim kept fighting, racking up one memorable bout after another. Reflecting on his career, he said, "I was born a fighter. I was made for this rough and tumble life." One fight in particular that stands out for Miller, and for fans, is his 2012 brawl with Joe Lauzon at UFC 155. It was an intense, bloody battle that pushed both men to their limits. Miller came out strong in the first round, but Lauzon countered in the second, making it anyone's game. Miller finally clinched the win in the third round, earning him a unanimous decision and Fight of the Night honors. To this day, he considers it a career highlight, a fight he believes deserves a spot in the UFC Hall of Fame. Despite his legendary status, and a record that includes clashes with stars like Nate Diaz, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, and Donald Cerrone, Miller has yet to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. But if he decides to hang up his gloves after UFC 309, he'll surely be in the conversation. His next, and possibly final, opponent, Damon Jackson, is another experienced fighter with 13 bouts in the UFC. Jackson's last high-profile fight was a tough loss to current featherweight champ Ilia Topuria, but he's won 6 times in the octagon and is coming ready for the challenge. If this is indeed Jim Miller's last fight, it's the end of a truly remarkable chapter in MMA history. He's been a part of some of the biggest UFC events, fought some of the sport's biggest names, and shown a grit that defines what it means to be a fighter.